Hola, mi nombre es Desiree y soy de Guatemala.
My name is Cami, and I'm from the San Francisco Bay Area, but I've lived all over since then.
I grew up in Memphis, Tennessee, but I've been a Westerner since I arrived in the West.
Also,
Oh, well, let me do that again. My name is Tamra, and I grew up in Memphis, Tennessee, but I've been a Westerner ever since I've been in the West.
what?
And now we are at...
And right now we're in Laredo, Baja California Sur, Mexico.
Good. And you are, all three of you, nomads,
Yes.
right?
Sí.
So, how do you define yourselves as nomads? Why?
I don't have a home of sticks and bricks, and I have a short bus. It was formerly a school bus, and it's now a tiny house. It's been converted. It has a bed and a fridge and a stove and a shower and a little dinette and a heater and a fan, and it has everything a home has, and it's very comfortable. And actually very spacious. It's like it's like a small apartment. And it takes me wherever I want to go. And when you're not paying rent or mortgage, you don't have to work as much, and you can travel more. And so why would I not have wheels under my home?
How many years have you lived in your...
I've lived the traveling lifestyle. I've lived full-time traveling. I started, I think, in September 2015, but I've been in the bus specifically since July of 2017.
And what are some of the places you've been to?
Well, since dropping out of conventional life, I was never that conventional, but since dropping out of living somewhere, my circuit is kind of around the West. So Arizona, Utah, California, Idaho, and then the surrounding areas. But I've also ventured to Texas, or I'll fly back east for this or that occasion. And I have family all over the world. So my sister lives in Barcelona with her family, and my parents live in Italy. And so I go to Europe somewhat regularly and visit them, and then go around to surrounding, areas in Southern Europe. And also I went to Fiji, and I've come to Mexico a lot. Cami and I, probably the best trip was we went with a group to Copper Canyon in Chihuahua, and got to stay with some Tarahumara families, the Tarahumara tribe. With California. Yes, we work for California Survival School. Cami and I do as instructors of primitive living and wilderness survival skills. And so our company took some clients down when we got to go. That was one of the funnest trips.
It's awesome. I actually did not work there at the time. Tamara introduced me to the company, and I got a job there shortly after, so it was great. So I lived in Taiwan from 2008 until about 2015. And when I was getting ready to come back to America, I just could not imagine settling into a normal life in an apartment, scrambling for my paycheck every month, working from 9 to 5. The thought of it made my soul feel like it was going to die after having all these adventures in Asia. And I started doing research about how I might live and not have to live that existence. And I got into the tiny house movement for a little while. But then something that bothered me about it is if you have a tiny house, you really need like a special place to park it. And then I learned about van dwelling and stealth camping and being able to go and just stay anywhere and rough it. So I live first I had a school bus, but it died a very dramatic death on its maiden voyage, which was
And you nearly died a dramatic death on its maiden voyage.
It was very sad. I didn't actually wreck it. What's it called? The exhaust manifold got a crack in it, and it pulled the exhaust into the bus, and I didn't know it, but I was suffocating. It's a long story. Anyway, so that's what I had first, but now I have an old Ford E350 van with a high top so I can stand up. And it's amazing because I bought that van. I was so broke after I lost the bus. That was like a lot of my savings went into converting that, and then it died. And so I bought the van for $1,500, thinking if it lasts me a year, I'll be very happy. And now here I am, I think it was June 2016. Does that sound right? Or June 2015? Everything's a blur.
I don't even know what day it is.
Yeah, so I got it in June 2016, I think, and have been living in it ever since, and it's amazing. It just keeps trucking. I barely put any money in it, and it's free. So that's my home.
Bueno, yo viví en Holanda 12 años. Estaba viviendo con mi novio holandés en Holanda. Y él hizo un viaje a Australia en donde viajó en una van y desde entonces estaba traumatizado y él dijo necesitamos hacer esto, tenemos que hacer esto y al final logró convencerme y compramos una Volkswagen del año 89 y la convertimos en una campervan porque no era una campervan y cada mes poníamos un poco de dinero, esto durante 3 años y ahorramos por 2 años, vivimos en un apartamento muy pequeño, no gastábamos mucho dinero y todo con este viaje en mente y bueno, mandamos la van de Holanda a Nueva York y empezamos a manejar rumbo norte a Quebec y cruzamos toda Canadá hasta la isla de Vancouver, tomamos el ferry a Washington y ahora estamos en México y vamos a seguir yendo al sur. Esperamos que hasta la Patagonia y planeamos el viaje para 2 años y llevamos ahora 1 año. Entonces nos queda 1 año para ir de México a Argentina. Esperamos llegar porque todo nos toma muchísimo más tiempo, porque no es una línea recta, sino que vamos así, conociendo a gente, que te recomiendan ir por allá, por aquí. Y bueno, hemos recorrido muchísimas más kilómetros de lo que creímos, pero ha sido increíble. Bueno, vamos a ver hasta dónde llegamos.
So what's the best part of being a nomad or leading a nomad life?
I do feel like if we're going to talk about the best parts, we should also talk about the worst parts because I feel like...
Sí.
Todo bien. Gracias. But yeah, I feel like if we talk about the best parts of van life, we should also talk about the worst parts because I think this lifestyle is very glorified and I've seen a lot of people go into it a bit blind and they just think it's gonna be amazing, it's gonna be amazing, and then they go in and they're like, I haven't showered for a week, I'm filthy, I'm crowded, I can't stand up in my rig, and they're miserable. And I've seen just a lot of people go into that and they sold their house and blah 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 and then they leave van life right away. So I feel like we should not glorify too much.
Except for I think it is glorious.
It is. Yeah. Well, to me, it's perfect.
I think it is too, but people need to have realistic expectations. The fact is that humans are extremely adaptable, and our standard of living can fluctuate. Our standard of comfort can expand. And so 10 years ago, could I have lived in the space that I live in now and enjoyed it and been this unconventional? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I would have been unhappy.
Es un proceso.
Sí. But I'm at a point now where I'd be unhappy living conventionally. As a matter of fact, for a few months, I did live in an apartment and it was depressing. I felt, I got lazy, I got tired, I got sad. The best part, I think, of this lifestyle is being more connected with the natural world. Honestly, for me, like when you have a small space, you get out more. And also what I love about living in a bus is that there's windows all around. So I have natural light and fresh air. So even when I'm not outdoors, I'm kind of outdoors. I can sync with the sun. And my whole drive in life is that I want to live as close to being a human animal as possible. And the modern conventional life is kind of like a zoo, or at least that's how I experience it. And being a zoo animal made me neurotic and imbalanced and unhappy. And so I just want to be a free animal in my natural habitat as much as possible.
Yo creo que también vivir está bien, o sea, ha sido un proceso porque uno va a estar en un apartamento, de ir a cenar a restaurantes, de bañarse todos los días, hacer un montón de productos y uno cambia a un estilo minimalista totalmente y a mí me costó mucho escoger hasta qué ropa iba a llevar porque todo el espacio es limitado y cada vez que compras algo nuevo tienes que deshacerte de algo más porque no hay espacio para todo. Y también siento que vivir esa vida uno pone los valores en cosas superficiales y por eso necesita más cosas y más cosas. O sea que para mí también ha sido un proceso como de desintoxicación, ¿no? Y volver a conectar con la naturaleza y saber que esos valores son los que importan y no necesitamos tantas cosas para vivir y no necesito bañarme todos los días y estoy bien, no me pasa nada. Y sí ha sido como aprender a ser más minimalista y aprender a estar más en paz con uno mismo y no necesitar tanto lo material, que creo que es genial.
See, I had over 200 pairs of shoes.
How long ago? 13 years ago I had over 200 pairs of shoes and a really serious shopping habit. I was accumulating, and it's never satisfied. And it was very much, those addictions and those dependencies, those false dependencies were very much a product of programming and marketing. And I've just been in a process over the years of just slowly recognizing the dark programming that doesn't serve me and unprogramming and reprogramming. And this is where that path has led me. And I totally agree with Desi that I'm so much happier with less. I'm so much less burdened and I'm so much freer, and I'm never going back to just being just burdened by, like, I was a slave to it. It owned me. It was shackles.
For me, it's being able to wake up in a new place every single day. And my favorite thing in the world, I don't know why, is just walking with no specific destination in mind, and just walking and walking and walking until I find myself in a whole new place. And I do a lot of that as a nomad. And I think I've definitely gotten some feedback from people who are like, oh, you're just running away from real life and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no, as far as I can tell, this is real life. And I think that so many of our ancestors were nomads, that some of those genes obviously persisted in gene pool, right? And so some people just really aren't that happy sitting in a house. You know, for me, I feel very stifled and I feel very, suffocated. And being able to go out and explore every day a new place. I love, like, I wake up in my van and I just go, okay, first of all, which way am I facing in my van? Because depending on which way the ground is tilted, I'm either sleeping with my head towards the driver's seat or towards the back. Sometimes you don't have an option, right? Sometimes it's a hill, you gotta. So first I ask myself, okay, which way am I facing in the van? And then I go, okay, what parking space is my van in? And then I think, okay, what state am I in? All right, which country, right? So I just go through the things until I'm like, oh yeah, okay, I know where I am. And to me, that's delicious. To me, that is a beautiful experience. But I know a lot of people would feel they wouldn't like it. So it just depends on who you are, I think.
Sí, pero yo creo que igual, aunque uno crea que no le gustaría hacer este tipo de vida o vivir este tipo de vida, yo creo que uno llega a muchos lugares que jamás llegaría en vacaciones de 2 semanas y solo yendo en avión. O sea, uno puede explorar lugares donde jamás hubiera ido si no hubiera ido en carro y si no hubiera tenido el tiempo para estar ahí, y también de conocer a tanta gente. Yo creo que hemos conocido a mucha gente que en la vida normal jamás hubiéramos hablado. Hemos conocido a gente con mucho dinero, gente con poco dinero, gente viviendo en las calles, y siento que rompe muchas barreras que existen en el mundo real o en el mundo normal. Y eso me encanta a mí, conocer y hablar a gente que jamás me hubiera imaginado. Creo que eso hace este estilo de vida especial.
So what about the human experience? You are touching on that. Tell me something about that human experience. For example, to me the most fascinating thing about nomad life is the people I meet. Every place you meet somebody, like the way I met you. But tell us a little bit about how you met.
I yelled first.
Okay.
So we were trying to find a beach to camp at, and I wanted to camp someplace free because I'm cheap. I'm very, very cheap. So our friends had found a place to camp at, and we didn't want to camp there, but I had seen...
Because it was paid.
Yeah, going back and forth, and it was a bit more... There were more people going to be there. So we were going back and forth on the road, and I looked down, I'm like, that looks like a spot we could camp at. And the next time we came by, I saw this beautiful Westphalia, and I thought, those people are probably cool. Anyway, we turned into this pullout at night up on top on the road. And we were just sleeping up there, and it was awful because we could hear the truck drivers' brakes all night. But before we went to sleep, we were like, okay, we were looking down at the beach and we saw lights on. And so I was just like, hey, is it okay if you have neighbors? And the moment I heard Desi's voice, I was like, she's cool. She seems like good. So yeah, you can tell about your side.
O sea, estaba así súper oscuro, no se miraba nada. Y estábamos a la par como de una montañita. Ellas estaban arriba, pero nosotros no sabíamos. Y nos estábamos arreglando para ir a dormir. Y de repente empiezo a oír que alguien dice, hello, hello. Y yo así, ¿qué me está hablando? Dios. y nada, y me empezaron a gritar y nos preguntaron si se podían quedar con nosotros, por supuesto. O sea, me encantó que me hayan gritado, nunca nadie nos había pedido permiso. Y dijimos, sí, por supuesto, bajen. Así que la siguiente mañana bajaron y nos quedamos ahí, creo que como semana y media, que se pasó volando. Y desde entonces pues, somos amigos. Y nosotros nos fuimos y ahora vinieron a visitarnos.
We had such a good time together, and it was just such a good dynamic from the start. We just clicked with each other.
Yeah.
And I mean, we're like-minded, we're on a similar path, and similar things have brought us to a similar philosophy. And so we just enjoy, whenever you're part of a niche, and whenever you're part of one of the offshoots, you know, or a fringe kind of a group, it's so refreshing to find people who get you, where you don't have to explain or defend it, and where you can just kind of like revel in that commonality. But we had such a good time. We shared meals and cooked together. Mostly I did. And we played card games like every night. Yeah, just totally. I mean, what's awesome about having your rig too is that you can just retreat and have your own space and do your own thing. Putter in here. We did a lot of putter all day. And then you can come and be social when you want to come and be social.
Yeah.
And what was really cool for me, because I traveled for about a year and a half before I knew there was a nomad community, which I should have known. There's a community for everything these days. But Cammie actually found out about an event for nomads, and then we went to that, and that kind of just opened up our world, I think, and to find that group of people who are like-minded, and there's so much diversity within it.
Yeah,
it was so crazy because I was like watching YouTube videos, and I'd been living on the road for a while, and I was watching this YouTube video, and this guy was like, hey, we're having an event out in the desert, we're going to help people build their vans, and I was going, oh, that's so cool, and he goes, it's November 1st, it was October 31st, and I go, oh, it was probably like 2 years ago. I look at the date, it was like the day before that he posted the video, and immediately I was like, I'm leaving, I gotta go to Arizona. So that's how we met this big group, and I just called Tam and I was like, you gotta come down here, this is gonna be, and it was life-changing.
It was life-changing, for sure. And you know, like I said, there's much diversity, many different kinds of people, but we've all got that common thread. We've all got that commonality, but different philosophical, different political, different socioeconomic even, because people do van life very differently. Some of us have a very comfortable livelihood still, you know, we can travel and work, and other people are, you know, maybe getting benefits from like an injury or disability or military service or something like that. Many retired people. As a matter of fact, like a retired man told us recently that we didn't pay our dues yet.
He's like, you gotta pay your dues. And I'm like, I've been semi-retired since I was 26, so sorry.
Pero sí, la mayoría de la gente es muy positiva cuando uno les dice lo que estamos haciendo. Solo hemos tenido 2 personas que nos han dicho, pero ustedes tienen que trabajar, tienen que pagar impuestos, ¿quién va a pagar mi pensión? pero se han sido 2 personas de cientos de personas que les hemos dicho cómo vivimos y que hemos conocido viviendo este estilo de vida. Y hemos conocido mucha gente joven también haciéndolo, y creo que se está volviendo más popular cada año. Creo que hay más y más gente joven haciéndolo, porque creo que para nuestra generación también así es más difícil comprar una casa, tener un carro, mantener una familia. Entonces creo que it's more common to our generation to start living in vans. Like it's getting more.
It's a growing movement.
It's growing very fast.
It is. Yeah, because people are starting to go, hey, I'm not sure that this conventional one and only path works for me.
Right.
People are starting to recognize that for a lot of us that there are some negative side effects to the conventional path. And for me, it was just like when the facade started to crack, I was like, hey, wait a minute. And it's just like, because you were told that this was what you do. And then I'm like, but that's just one option out of infinite options of how to do life on this planet. It's just one of them. And it's not right. And anything outside of it isn't wrong. It's just these are different options, different ways to live. And if that doesn't work with me, maybe there's not something wrong with me. Maybe there's something wrong with that. You know? Like,
So one final thought, each of you. One last thought.
Oh, don't start with me. I have no idea. Start with one of them.
Creo que para mí algo que he aprendido es que
And of course, cuéntanos también un poco rápido, pero muy rápido, cómo es viajar con los pets.
fantástico. No, el viaje no sería igual sin Paco. Tenemos un perro que adoptamos en España y es Dresden, de Taiwán, y creo que le da otro nivel viajar con perros. O sea, yo quisiera más, pero la van es muy pequeña, así que no. Es muy buen perro guardián. En las noches siempre nos avisa, porque nosotros tampoco pagamos por campamentos, entonces el perro siempre nos avisa cuando alguien viene afuera, si hay algún animal, así que es nuestro sistema de alarma. Funciona muy bien.
Sorry, I'm not sure what you said to her. Oh, I highly recommend traveling with a dog. Van life can be lonely, especially if you're not caravanning, if you're traveling alone. Van life can be very lonely. I found Dresden, she's the black and white dog. I found her in Taiwan. She's been with me for 11 years now, and I brought her back on the plane, and she's been traveling in the van, and I highly recommend it. I think you need a dog for van life.
or a cat.
Or a cat. It's good to get a rescue, maybe not from a puppy mill or something like that, but yeah, there's a lot of dogs out there who need good homes, and sometimes those homes are on wheels.
It's actually a good life for animals because they're going all different places. They're outside a ton. It's not like the dogs who live in apartments and who don't ever get physical activity and things like that. So it's a really good life for animals as well. They go everywhere you go. And Cammie always says they're the canary in the coal mine, meaning like, if you're well by seeing if your dog is well. You know what they need, so.
When we're city dwelling, which I really hate city dwelling, Dres will start to get this look in her eye, and I know she's going a little crazy, it's a little neurotic, and I go, oh, we need trees, and so we get out of the city and we go hiking, and she looks happier, and then I know I'm happier too.
So the final thought? Let's see. That's hard. One final thought.
Okay. One thing that I tell people who are trying something new, whether it's living in a different country, which I've done a lot of, new job, new place to live, van life, nomadic stuff, whatever, just tell yourself you're going to hate it for 6 months. Because I think people go in with these expectations that are crazy. And if they go in thinking, okay, I'll hate it for 6 months, then it can start to grow on you and you start to handle things better.
But I took to it though really quickly.
Me too.
I inadvertently started this lifestyle because I thought I was just going to travel for 3 or 4 months. So I started in a car because I didn't think I was going to live on the road. I didn't think I was going to live in a vehicle and be nomadic. But at the end of 3 or 4 months, I kept extending my travel plans. And then ultimately I was like, who am I kidding? This is a lifestyle. This works. I don't want to go back to paying rent. And so I accidentally discovered it and just found that I preferred it, you know, from the get-go. Obviously there are sacrifices. We don't have all of the comforts and all of the security that a house has. It's a trade. It's a trade. But at this point in my life, for me, it is a very good trade.
Yo también voy a tocar un poco sobre lo que ella dijo, de hacer cosas nuevas y salir de la zona de confort de uno. Creo que es que uno puede salir, porque yo al principio no quería hacer este viaje y mi novio me decía, vamos, 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 y al principio, y estás como, no sé si voy a poder, no sé si voy a poder. Y ha sido un proceso porque también, como dijo ella, que no está programado a que, ok, hay que estudiar, hay que trabajar, hay que tener una casa, hay que tener una familia, y poco a poco como que toma tiempo desprogramar al cerebro y aprender que se puede vivir una vida diferente y que está bien y que no hay que sentirse culpable, sino que aprender a disfrutar la vida, porque al final, o sea, sí es corta y estamos un día y ya no estamos, y trabajar en un cubículo y, o sea, ir a ver Netflix en la noche, pues la verdad no, o sea, no se compara con algo como esto. Así que yo le diría a la gente que se atreva a decir que sí a las cosas nuevas y que sepa que es un proceso.